The sun hung low over the hill, casting golden light across the bronze plates mounted on the stone wall of Valor Memorial Park. Each name engraved there was more than just a soldier. It was a story, a sacrifice, a family forever changed. Sarah Morgan stood still in her polished black shoes, clutching the worn military cap that had once belonged to the father she never met. Sergeant Daniel Morgan. 2014. Her name was never written in his letters. Her face never seen in his eyes. Yet here she was, 10 years old, standing beneath his name etched into bronze. The park was silent except for the low hum of conversation and the distant rustle of flags. Folding chairs lined the grassy area. Veterans, Gold Star families, and local officials had gathered for the annual remembrance ceremony. Only this year, the event had a controversial twist. Donald Trump, former president, was the guest speaker. Sarah didn't understand everything about politics, but she understood loss. And something about Trump's name made her chest tighten. Her mother tried to explain it once, how things got messy, how people got divided, and how power could sometimes drown out people's pain. She didn't care about all that. She just knew one thing: her father died a hero. And in her mind, Trump never honored that the way he should have. As Trump stepped to the podium, the crowd settled into their seats. He adjusted the microphone with practiced ease, surveying the field of solemn faces. "We're here today," he began, "to honor the brave men and women who gave everything for this country. Their courage is why we stand free." People clapped, but Sarah didn't. Her fingers clenched around the cap tighter. The speech continued: patriotism, strength, unity. She heard the words, but they bounced off her like stones on a river. Her eyes stayed on the wall. On her father's name. Then came the Q&A. Trump opened the floor. A few adults asked polite, rehearsed questions. Sarah stood up. People around her turned in surprise. Her voice was small but steady. "My name is Sarah Morgan." Trump squinted toward her, softening a bit. "Go ahead, young lady." She raised her chin, eyes locked on his. "You're a dictator." The crowd gasped. A veteran in the front row shook his head. Sarah's mom reached out, but Sarah didn't flinch. Trump stood there, stunned. The flags behind him fluttered. She wasn't done. "You act like you care about people like my dad. But you don't. He died believing he was fighting for freedom. And I don't think he died for someone like you." The silence was crushing. Trump stared at her, unmoving. And for the first time that day, he didn't know what to say. Trump stood frozen at the podium, his hand resting lightly on the wood as if steadying himself. Sarah's words, "You're a dictator," still echoed through the air, sharp and cutting. The audience stared, unsure whether to gasp again or wait for him to respond. He looked out across the crowd, then back at the small girl standing defiantly beneath her father's name. He took a breath. "You're brave," he said finally, his voice quieter than expected. Not many people your age, or any age, would say that out loud. Sarah didn't flinch. Her eyes stayed locked on his, unblinking. Trump's gaze shifted to the memorial wall. "Daniel Morgan. That was your father?" She nodded. The crowd listened, holding their breath. "He was a sergeant," Trump said, softer now. "He wore that uniform with honor. Men like your father, they're the reason I'm even standing here." Sarah's tone didn't waver. "Then why do you act like only your voice matters? My dad didn't fight for one man to speak over everyone else." Trump stepped around the podium. The usual stiffness in his shoulders seemed to fade. He looked older, more human. "I've made mistakes," he admitted. "But I've never stopped believing in the people who serve this country. Your dad, he didn't just wear a uniform. He carried something most people wouldn't have the courage to lift." Sarah clutched the cap in her hands, knuckles whitening again. "You're angry," Trump said. "And you have every right to be. I lost someone too, my brother Fred. He didn't wear a uniform, but losing him left a hole I never filled. I know what it feels like to carry that weight." Her expression softened, if only slightly. "Maybe you blame me. And maybe," he added, eyes meeting hers, "that's fair." Gasps rose from the crowd. Trump didn't blink. "But your father's sacrifice meant something. And you? Standing here like this?" He nodded slowly. That means something too. The wind stirred the flags above them. For the first time all day, Sarah didn't feel so alone. Trump looked out over the crowd. She reminded me what truth sounds like. He turned back to Sarah. It's time someone gave something back to your family. The air was thick with unspoken words as Trump's gaze lingered on Sarah. She stood, not as the angry child who had confronted him, but as someone who had wrestled with her grief and emerged stronger. Her eyes, once filled with defiance, now held a quiet determination. Trump, recognizing the shift, spoke with a softer tone. "You're right," he said, his voice steady. "Your father didn't fight for accolades. He fought for something bigger." He paused, casting a glance at the memorial. The sacrifices that go unnoticed, they matter the most. Sarah's hands, still clutching her father's dog tags, tightened with a sense of purpose. "I don't want just words," she replied, her voice unwavering. "I want action." Trump nodded, acknowledging her challenge. "You'll see it. I'll make sure your father's sacrifice isn't forgotten." The room fell silent, the weight of their exchange settling in. For Sarah, it wasn't just about seeking revenge, it was about understanding the value of her father's sacrifice. And in this unexpected conversation, she had found something she hadn't anticipated, the beginning of healing. As the crowd slowly began to applaud, Sarah's mother, who had been watching quietly, stepped forward and placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. Sarah nodded, feeling a sense of pride. "It wasn't just me," she said softly. She had asked the hard question, and now, she had the answer she needed. As they walked away, Sarah glanced at her mother. "Dad would have been proud of me," she said quietly. Her mother smiled, tears in her eyes. "He would have been amazed, sweetheart." And as they left the park, the weight on Sarah's shoulders felt just a little lighter. There, in the quiet exchange, something had shifted, a moment of redemption, of finding peace in the face of loss.